Welcome to Tales with Ghost King, your podcast for the bizarre, the weird, and the spooky. Hello, and welcome back to Tales with Ghost King. Today we will explore and talk about some haunted, or not so haunted and cursed objects from around the world. Our first haunted object is a story of the Debunk box. The story unfolded nearly 2 decades ago, shifting from a clever internet stunt to a Hollywood movie before culminating into a full confession. The initial fabricated tale in September 2003, Kevin Mannis listed an ordinary wooden wine cabinet on eBay. He included a long cinematic description to drive up the bidding. Mannis claimed he bought the box in Portland, Oregon from the granddaughter of a 103-year-old Holocaust survivor named Havela. Havela had allegedly escaped Poland during World War II, fled to Spain, and purchased the box there. According to the fictional listing, Havana and her friends accidentally trapped a malicious, debunked spirit using a Ouija board, sealing it inside the cabinet. Havela requested to be buried with the box. Because this violated Orthodox Jewish tradition, her granddaughter kept it, but immediately sold it to Mannis to get it out of their life. To make the auction viral, Mannis detailed terrifying supernatural occurrences that allegedly happened the moment he bought it home. He left the box inside his basement workshop, and when he returned, the basement lights were smashed and his employees were found sobbing in terror, claiming a shadowy figure was lurking. Mannis claimed the box constantly emitted the smell of jasmine flowers mixed with cat urine. He gave the box to his mother for her birthday. Within 5 minutes of receiving it, she suffered a stroke that left her temporarily unable to speak. When she recovered, she typed the words, "hate gift." Every person who slept in the same house as the box reported having identical, horrific nightmares about a demonic hag with long fingernails. The box sold for $140 to a college student who quickly resold it after claiming it caused his hair to fall out. It was bought by Jason Haxton, a medical museum director who took the myth to a global audience. Haxton claimed the box caused him to cough up blood, break out in hives, and suffer chronic fatigue. Haxton wrote The Debunk Box, which codified the rules of the box. Producer Sam Raimi bought the rights to the story, turning it into the 2012 theatrical horror movie, The Possession. In 2016, celebrity ghost hunter Zach Bagans bought the box for his Las Vegas Haunted Museum. He placed it behind protective glass in a decorative room. Pop star Post Malone visited the museum in 2018 and touched Bagans while Bagans touched the box. Internet culture blamed the curse for a string of bad luck Post Malone experienced immediately afterward, including a car crash, an emergency plane landing, and a home burglary. The narrative collapsed when Kevin Mannis admitted the truth to journalist Charles Moss. The box was a standard commercial minibar cabinet from the mid-20th centuries. There was no Holocaust survivor, no granddaughter, and no stroke. Mannis stated, "I'm a creative writer. The box is a story that I created. The story of the box was created to do exactly what it did, to mock people's belief systems, to show how easily people can be manipulated by a narrative." The Hope Diamond curse is a legendary myth stating that bad luck, tragedy, and gruesome deaths will befall anyone who owns or touches the 45.52 carat rare blue gemstone. While historians consider the curse to be highly sensationalized fabrication used as a marketing tactic, the gem's real history is tightly intertwined with the genuine turbulent misfortunes of its very wealthy and famous owners. It was stolen from an idol according to lore. The curse began in the 17th century when French gem merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier stole a massive 112-carat blue diamond from the eye of a Hindu statue of the goddess Siti in India. Enraged temple priest reportedly placed a hex on anyone who possessed the gem. Legend states that shortly after, Tavernier contracted a violent fever and was torn to shreds by wild dogs. Historic records from the Smithsonian Institute show Tavernier actually purchased a raw stone legitimately from the Golconda mines, and he lived a peaceful, prosperous life until dying at the old age of 84. He then sold the gem to King Louis XIV of France in 1668, who had it recut into a 67-carat stone known as the French Blue. The gem was passed down through the generations of French monarchy, directly intersecting with major history. A government official who wore the stone for a special event fell out of favor with the king shortly after and spent the rest of his life imprisoned. The royal couple inherited the French Blue and famously lost their heads to the guillotine during the French Revolution. During the chaos of the Revolution in 1792, the French crown jewels were looted and the blue diamond vanished entirely. The diamond resurfaced decades later in London, having been recut again into its current 45.52 carat weight to conceal its identity. It was then purchased by a wealthy banker named Henry Philip Hope in 1839, giving the gem its permanent name. The curse narrative gained steam when the family line collapsed into financial ruins. Henry's descendant, Lord Francis Hope, inherited the diamond but mismanaged his immense fortune, eventually falling into deep bankruptcy and being forced to sell the stone to pay his debts off. In 1910, famous Parisian jeweler Pierre Cartier acquired the gem. Realizing that mystery sells, Cartier initially weaponized and embellished the folklore of a curse to capture the attention of eccentric, ultra-wealthy buyers. He successfully used this exact angle to pitch and sell the stone to American socialite Evelyn Walsh McLean in 1911. A massive New York Times article published the same year listing the gem's alleged victims permanently cemented the myth into pop culture. Evelyn Walsh McLean is perhaps the most famous private owner of the diamond, and ironically suffered the exact personal tragedies that media outlets attributed to the curse. Her 9-year-old son was tragically struck and killed by a car. Her daughter died of an untimely drug overdose. Her husband suffered a complete mental collapse and died in a sanitarium. The family went completely broke, forcing the estate to sell her jewelry collection, and after her death, all to cover her massive debt. Where's the Hope diamond now? Famed New York jeweler Harry Winston purchased McLean's estate collection in 1949. To put an end to the private ownership chain, Winston chose to donate the piece to the public. In 1958, he wrapped the priceless diamond in a single brown paper bag and sent it via registered mail to Washington, D.C. The curse allegedly took one final sweep at James Todd, the mailman who delivered the package. Shortly after dropping it off, Todd was involved in 2 separate severe car accidents. His wife and his dog died unexpectedly, and then his home caught on fire. Today, the Hope Diamond resides safely inside of the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. Curators note that the gem has brought nothing but incredibly good luck to the nonprofit institution, driving millions of curious visitors through its doors every year. The Anguish Man is widely considered one of the world's most haunted objects, featuring a tragic origin story of a disturbed artist who mixed his own blood into the oil paint before dying by suicide. The painting depicts a distorted, eyeless orange figure with its mouth wide open, trapped in a silent scream. According to legend, popularized on platforms like Dead Live events and discussed across art forums like Reddit, Art History Community, the painting's creator remains entirely unknown. The artist allegedly mixed his own blood into the oil paints while creating the piece to infuse it with his personal torment. Immediately upon finishing the artwork, the painter then took his own life. The painting eventually came into the possession of a woman in Cumbria, England. She firmly believed the artwork was evil and locked it away in her attic for 25 years. During that time, she reported hearing the faint sounds of a man crying and sobbing coming from the attic. Before passing away, she gifted the painting to her grandson, Sean Robinson, but explicitly warned him about its dark energy. But despite her warnings, Robinson decided to bring the painting into his home and hang it up on the wall. As detailed in overviews by All the Things That's Interesting, once the painting was displayed, Robinson and his family claimed to experience extreme paranormal activity. The family frequently reported hearing disembodied weeping, groaning, and crying all throughout the night. Robinson reported seeing the dark silhouette of a man lingering near the painting. Sudden cold spots would appear, doors would slam shut on their own, and a strange mist was seen forming inside of the room where the painting hung. The artwork would periodically fly off the wall and slam onto the floor without any logical explanation. In 2010, Robinson created a YouTube channel to document the phenomenon. He uploaded several videos showing time-lapse footage where the painting appeared to move slightly, doors swung shut, and strange audio was captured. These videos gained millions of views and sparked massive online debates. However, critics and skeptics point out that all paranormal claims rely entirely on the Robinson family's word. Many believe the videos are an elaborate hoax, utilizing clever camera placement, editing tricks, or hidden fishing lines to move the objects. Art experts have also noted on forums like Reddit that real blood degrades and changes color rapidly over time, making it highly unlikely that the vivid orange and red paints are actually blood infused. Despite the skepticism, Robinson has constantly refused to sell the artwork, stating it is locked away in a secure location because it is simply too active and dangerous to be released into the world. Another painting, The Hands Resist Him, painted by artist Bill Stoham in 1972, is also considered the world's most famously haunted painting. It earned the nickname the eBay Haunted Painting, after a viral listing in February of 2000 claimed the artwork had been cursed. The oil on the canvas painting depicts a somber young boy and a life-sized, hollow-eyed female doll standing in front of a glass panel door. Behind the glass, numerous disembodied hands press against the panes. This is according to the artist. It is based off of a photograph of himself at the age of 5 that was taken in Chicago. Represents the thin, fragile barrier between the waking world in the world of fantasy or alternate possibilities. It also acts as a guide meant to escort the boy through the threshold. The title itself comes from a poem written by Stoham's then wife about his status as an adopted child. The painting's eerie reputation began long before the internet. It was first displayed at the Feingarten Gallery in Beverly Hills. Within a year of its release, 3 people closely tied to the painting had died: the gallery owner, the Los Angeles Times art critic who reviewed the exhibition, and actor John Marley, who bought the painting. Decades later, an elderly couple discovered the painting abandoned at an old brewery and listed it on eBay. Their listing description quickly became an internet phenomena by alleging that the figures they moved at night. The sellers claimed the boy and the doll would change positions or completely step out of the frame into the room. The doll had a weapon. They provided motion sensor photos claiming the shadow of the doll appeared to be threatened by the boy with a gun. Viewers became physically ill. Internet users claimed they fainted, fell violently ill, or felt gripped by an unseen entity simply by viewing the digital listing. The auction went viral, skyrocketing from a starting bid of $199 to a final selling price of $1,025. It was purchased by Perception Gallery in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The owner eventually put it into a climate-controlled storage, refusing numerous massive offers to resell it. Due to its lasting legacy, Stoham eventually painted a full series of sequels, including The Resistance at the Threshold in 2004 and a prequel, The Hands Invent Him, in 2017. Our next story is the true story of the Annabelle doll. It's vastly different from Hollywood's depiction and the Conjuring universe. In reality, Annabelle is not a creepy porcelain figure, but a vintage Raggedy Ann doll. Her haunted legend began in 1970 and centers on claims made by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The story started in 1970 when a mother purchased a second-hand Raggedy Ann doll from a hobby store. She then gave it to her 28-year-old daughter, Donna, a student nurse living in Hartford, Connecticut. Donna shared an apartment with another nurse named Angie. Initially, the toy was just a decoration on Donna's bed. However, the roommates soon noticed minor, unsettling shifts in its position. Within weeks, the movement escalated dramatically. The roommates would leave the doll on the couch and find it back on Donna's bed with its arms and legs crossed. Childlike handwriting on parchment paper began appearing around the apartment, bearing messages like "Help me" or "Help Lou." Unexplained knocking sounds echoed through the walls, and Donna eventually discovered a fluid resembling blood on the doll's hands. Terrified, the roommates contacted a psychic medium to understand the poltergeist activity. During a seance, the medium claimed that the apartment complex was built on a field where a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had been found dead years prior. According to the medium, the spirit of Annabelle felt safe with the nurses and wished to inhabit the doll to be loved. Compassionate and moved by the tragic tale, Donna and Angie gave the entity permission to stay. However, this invitation only made the entity stronger and more aggressive. Lou loathed the doll from the beginning and warned the girls to get rid of it. Shortly after the seance, Lou suffered 2 traumatic experiences. She Lou woke up paralyzed from sleep, looked down, and saw Annabelle gliding up his leg. The doll allegedly climbed onto his chest and choked him until he blacked out. Hearing a noise in Donna's empty bedroom, Lou entered to investigate. As he approached the doll, he felt a sudden pain and stripped back his shirt and discovered several distinct burning claw marks sliced into his chest. But the wounds miraculously healed completely within days. This is where the Warrens enter. Realizing they were dealing with something malevolent, the nurses contacted a priest who immediately called in famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. September 15, 2025. The Warrens concluded the doll itself was not actually possessed. Instead, it was being manipulated by an inhuman, demonic presence. This entity had used the disguise of an innocent little girl to gain the roommate's sympathy and entry into their lives. Its true object was to break down their psyches and eventually possess a human host. An Episcopal prince performed an exorcism on the apartment, and the Warrens agreed to take the doll back to their home in Connecticut. But the drive home was notoriously treacherous. The Warrens reported that the demon repeatedly caused their car's brakes and power steering to fail on the highway. Ed finally calmed the activity by splashing the doll with holy water. At their home, the doll continued to levitate and materialize in different rooms. To permanently contain its influence, Ed built a custom locked glass case inscribed with a protective prayer and a warning sign. Annabelle spent decades inside the Warrens' Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. While science writers and skeptics dismissed the entire narrative as clever folklore and a manufactured myth, the doll remains a cornerstone of modern horror culture. The real artifact is still safely locked away under the care of the Warren estate. There are many more haunted objects from around the world, some disproved, some not. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode about haunted and cursed objects. As always, please subscribe and share with your friends. And don't forget, anyone can submit an episode idea through the email taleswithghostking@gmail.com. We're available on all your favorite platforms, and thanks for listening.